Hello, welcome to March 7th, 2025. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation. This is an exercise that I do each and every day, a little bit after waking up, to remember my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone. Pardon me. I also use this time to think about the last 24 hours and how I did with the challenges and the opportunities that I met. I go over the 8 objectives of my creed, and I plan for the coming day. First, let me welcome my new YouTube subscribers. It's good to have you here on the channel. A little disclaimer, this is a video being made in Japan, at a Japanese convenience store. This is a Lawson station in Kusanagi Station on the south end of the station. Although I am in Japan, this video is not about Japan necessarily, other than the fact that I live here. This is a journal video that I do. So if you see the Good Life in the title, that's basically my daily journal. You're welcome to sit in and join me if you like. I don't answer comments until the end though, because I keep my flow going. Also in this video, I sometimes talk about sensitive subjects that make people uncomfortable, like death. So just be forewarned about that. And I want to give a big thank you to my YouTube members, my Patreon supporters, and people who watch my videos for buying me this cup of coffee this morning, this sugar-free, grande size, big size latte here at Lawson. I'm at Lawson today because their internet was kind of funky. Not the internet, but because they don't have Wi-Fi. I usually do this at Mini Stop on the other side of town, but the internet was kind of funny. I don't know what it was. So I came down here, and I'm good, strong 5G down here. So let's get started. I'm running a little bit behind on time. Yesterday I did something in the evening that just really upset the apple cart of my schedule and my balance, my equanimity, everything. So what I'm going to do now is go over 3 things. I'm going to talk about the last 24 hours and point out where I had challenges and opportunities to improve. I'll go over the 8 objectives of my creed, and then after that I'll finish with my plan for the day. So I always keep a notebook. For yesterday's notes, there were 2 things that were challenges for me. And by challenges, I mean things that I faced where I had an opportunity to fail or to rise above and do better. And I'll cover both. If I failed, then I ask myself, how did I fail? Why did I fall on my face? What could I have done to improve? If I did good, then I review that to see, well, how did I do good? What was it? Was it just an accident? Did I do some deliberate action? How can I do more of that in the future, right? So there were 2 things. One of them is labeled garden frustration. If you're new to the channel, I'm 60 years old. My wife is 60 years old. She's Japanese. I'm American. We have a 24-year-old daughter. She's grown and finished with college and on her own. We're empty nesters, newly retired. We've been retired 11 weeks. We recently moved back to Japan, where we raised our daughter, and we bought a house here. It has a beautiful garden, big giant garden in the backyard, and it's spring, almost spring, and I'm dying to get out in the garden and spend my days. And day after day lately, I get up and I say I'm going to spend time in the garden, and I can't, because there's so many things that come up. It's amazing how, and I repeat this over and over again, how now that I'm retired, I seem to have less free time than ever before. I don't know how I did anything personal before when I was fully employed and raising a daughter. But now here I am completely free, and I got no time. I can't even spend time in the garden. I got in about 5 minutes yesterday, and that was the cause of this garden frustration. Throughout the day, I kept telling myself, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to go out, and I got dressed up for the garden, and I just couldn't do it. So I didn't handle it well. It frustrated me throughout the day, and I'm still frustrated about it. And I guess the only thing that I can do, because this exercise is to look at the challenge and say, well, how could I manage that better? I guess the stoic way to handle that would be to recognize that something's going on in my life that's taking all my time away. And that's true. And that something is settling into this new life. We bought this house. We're not fully settled in it by any means. There's a lot of things that need to be done. We're setting up new routines. My wife and I, we look after my wife's father, who lives just down the river from us, a 5-minute walk. So we look after him during the day. We're busy people. So I guess it's probably unreasonable then. Here's how to handle it. It's unreasonable at this early stage still in our new home ownership and our new life here to expect significant blocks of time on a regular basis because we still need to get settled in. That's how I need to handle this. I should handle it the way I handle reading because I'm a very active, energetic person. It's hard for me to sit still. I read one page at a time. And I say, okay, I'm going to set out now, I'm going to read this page. And then I get to the end of the page, okay, I did that. And then I'll go have a cookie. Or I'll go take a walk, and then I'll come back and I'll read another page. You see how I do that? I kind of do it in blocks because I manage my mental and body's capacity to sit still for a long stretch of time, and about 1 or 2 pages is all I can handle. I should do the same thing with the garden at this point. Let's say if I can get 10 minutes in the garden, or 15 minutes, or half an hour, rather than saying I'm going to spend the day in the garden, which is unreasonable, clearly. Okay, so hashtag. So I have objectives and principles that are part of my Good Life Creed. And if you see me do something like hashtag, and I see comments, but I don't read comments until the end, so I'll get to those. My apologies. If you see me doing like a hashtag, saying something, that's when I'm referring back to the principles of my creed. So hashtag, true limits and true opportunity. I need to recognize that I have a limit to how much time I can spend in the garden at this point, and I have to abide that limit, which is, I should say, 15 minutes. If I can spend 15 minutes, put on my mud boots and go out in the yard for 15 minutes, then that is a reasonable expectation. Now, maybe 5 years from now, I'll be able to spend a half a day in the garden, but not now. So there. So this is good. This is a perfect example of why I do this exercise. Spot the problem, think about how to manage it, what the cause is, apply my principles to it, and then carry on. So now I've got a new plan. So today, when I think about going into the garden, I'm not going to think about, oh, I'm going to spend the afternoon in the garden. I'm going to put my mud boots on and go out and spend 15 minutes in the garden, and maybe set the timer. As silly as that sounds, I mean, who wants to relax in the garden with the timer on? But at least then when the timer goes off, it's like I do with reading. It's like, well, I read my page, right? I'm reading. I'm gardening 15 minutes into the bag. There we go. So one check off. The second thing, and this is the bigger one, was I'm retired now, but a friend of mine that lives in this area, she owns an English school, and one of her instructors is leaving Japan, and she doesn't have anybody to cover some classes, so she asked me to help out. I rather reluctantly, but I didn't wear my reluctance on my face, I agreed to help out with 2 classes back to back on Thursdays in the evening, late in the early evening. That was yesterday, my first time, and I hated it. And I am astonished by how much impact it had on me. A very deep and visceral experience. And it impacted me from 24 hours beforehand, and it still impacts me now, half a day later, last night. I have really, what I'm learning from this is that in retiring, I have really checked out of the work life. I do not want to work anymore. And that was a gross experience. And I apologize because I know I'm sounding insensitive. I'm very fortunate that I can retire at all, especially at my age, pretty young, at 60. It sounds like I'm not being grateful in talking this way, and I realize that that's the case, but this is my journal. You talk to your journal honestly, right? I mean, I know it was as insensitive as it sounds. I worked 40 hard years so I could check out eventually and enjoy, hopefully a decade or a little bit more than a decade of good health through my 60s of retirement. I do not want to go back to that way of life, the working way of life. And I'm sorry if that sounds insensitive to those that are still working, especially if you're my age or beyond. But this is I've got my own fishbowl of a life to manage, and I've got to learn from this. And I want to be a nice guy and helpful to my friend, but I don't want to do this again. And I've agreed, I made it very clear that I'm going to help her out to the end of April with just these 2 classes. She's got more that she wants me to do, but I'm not going to do it. That part of my life is over. And if I do things to make money, like, start up my antique business, that will be my own initiative, my own thing. So I guess what it is that I'm not necessarily, I'm certainly not averse to work. I don't know I have no problem helping the community out here, attending the community cleanup days, doing whatever the community needs of me. And that's work of a sort. I just don't want to be employed. I don't want to show up under and be and work under someone else's structure and have to look at the clock and like I was throughout the day yesterday because I had to leave at a certain time. Gosh, look at it. Can you see the emotion? I mean, where did this come from? I'm not this kind of guy. I've never been emotional about work. I've always been kind of a stayed and I'm a hard worker. I just do my thing. I put on a smile and I go for it. All my 40 years of hard work, I did that. Rarely showing any contempt or disgust, even when I really hated it, even when work was giving me panic attacks in the middle of the night and I couldn't sleep and my health was failing. I showed up to work with a smile on my face because it was my duty. It was my decided job to support my family, to support my daughter. But I'm at the end of that. I don't know. That's over. And I don't want to go back to that. And I learned that lesson yesterday. So, boy, I hope I got that out, right? Boy, gee, if you signed up, if you tuned in today, you get to see a side of me I guess I don't show very often, which is, because usually I'm under a little more self-control than this, but thanks for listening to me vent. So, back to the point of the exercise here, which is to look at it and try to learn from things, right? What I learned is that I don't want to work anymore. And if the opportunity, unless it's like a really grave necessity, like if my friend was sick and she called up and said, I'm really sick and I've got all these lessons for the week, could you like cover me just so I could get well? I'd do that. I'd do that to help my friend out. And I guess I was doing that now because she lost the teacher and do that, and I agreed to help out through April, so that should give her time to find a teacher, right? That's 2 months. That's 2 full months of helping out. But I don't want to do this anymore. No thanks. Okay, that's enough of that. Okay, let's get on to my creed. So my creed consists of 8 objectives and 35 principles. I always list out the objectives, even if I don't go into them in detail. You can read about them in my book, Going Alone, in the chapter titled The Good Life, which you can read for free at goingalone.org. The 8 objectives are: to be always ready to die, to make good and effective use of time, to develop and maintain good and sound life principles, to cultivate good emotional reactions, to perform good actions, to recognize true limits and true opportunities, to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly, deliberately, and carefully, and to keep my balance. Now, I'm not going to go into detail about any of those other than number 1, to be always ready to die, because I have to ask myself, am I ready to die? That means I have to answer yes to 3 questions. Are my affairs in order? Yes. Are my relationships sound? Yes. Is my life's work complete? Yes. So I am indeed ready to die. I don't want to die, but if I do die today, know that I've got everything. My house is in order. I'm ready. Yeah. So he says, right? What if I'm faced with the astral aspect of it? Well, I was almost faced with that a couple weeks back when I had that incident in the bamboo forest when I fell backwards and almost got impaled. And I literally remember flying through the air backwards, heading into the field of punji sticks, thinking, well, and I didn't think, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die. It was like, well, this is a silly way to die. 2 days into home ownership and to die impaled by bamboo in my backyard. So that was a pretty good test. Okay, so I've covered that. Now, the last thing I'm going to do, and if it seems like I'm going quick, it's because I'm running late. It's 6:24, and I need to get back to the house to walk the dogs by 7. And I'm far away, and I want to swing up on the top of the hill to get a view of Mount Fuji. The storm is cleared. For the next 24 hours, I'm going to make this the plan. I'm calling this Planning Day. That's the title of the day. I'm not going to give myself any particular objectives, although I'm going to give myself a chance to go into the garden for 15-minute slots. But I'm going to talk to Yumiko about, over breakfast, about more of a near and long-term plan for how we're going to handle the next couple of weeks and months going into the spring. That's all I'm going to do. That's the only objective for today, is to do that. And then to see what my wife needs, because she usually has some ideas about what we needed to be doing to settling the house. So I'll talk to her about that, and then I'll go from there. But I'm not going to set any more objectives than that. I am going to try to get at least a couple of 15-minute blocks in the garden. And with that, let's read the comments, and I'll get on my way. Busy Lizzie, good morning. Hello to you. Hello, April. Good morning to you. Good morning, Matt. April says a little bit at a time to keep you doing it so you don't lose interest in or burn out about it. Are you referring to work? A little bit at a time. I don't think it sounds ungrateful or anything. Plus, teaching was never your thing in the first place. Don't ever feel bad about saying no. I think the big difference between your and my generation. Venting is also important for mental health. Yeah. Busy Lizzie, just remember the teaching is just a temporary thing, and time does go quickly. I can see that it has bothered you a lot. You're a good friend. Yeah, it's bothered me more than I'm really surprised at how much this has bothered me. Hopefully she finds a replacement faster than not. I hope so too. Dude, go away. Okay, I will. I'm almost done. April says, I want to be a mod just to make Mark go away. Mark's fine. Thanks, April, though. Busy Lizzie, that's what I thought. Okay. I hope I'm sorry if I went fast, everybody. I need to get home and make sure I get there in time to walk my dogs. I don't want to keep them waiting, especially now that it seems like the clouds are clearing, the storm has passed, and maybe we have a lovely day. I wish everybody the best. April, I'm thinking about you down there. I hope that you're doing well and the family's doing well. And I think sometimes about your son out there helping out with the family farm and all that. That's really pretty neat stuff. And okay, I wish everybody the best. Be safe, but not too safe. Take care. Thanks, everybody.